Hey, welcome back. It's Mickey from the 12-Week Year Accountability Group, and thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for, just hanging out. I mean, I know I say it in class, and it gets, I'm sure, probably old to hear it, but I'm so glad you're here. And I'm glad you're here because of the ripple effect of what happens when you take care of you. It makes everybody else go, oh, I could probably take care of me a little better. So we are in week 8. And what happens in week 8 is, this is the critical time. So week 7, week 8, week 9 is when everyone is going to come face to face with themselves and your old patterns. And for those of you who feel like, I'm lost in this, I got off to a slow start, you guys will start waking up. Oh, let me just write something down. Oh, for those of you who are in your first round, it's really disorienting. And if you feel lost and you're just kind of showing up anyway because maybe you love me, maybe I'll notice, right? Because I know you. Maybe you'll just keep coming because you're just adorable. What will happen in week 8, week 7, week 8, week 9 is you start to go, yeah, I think I'm going to try some stuff. And you'll start really getting it. And so for those of you who feel like you have a late start, where everyone else is kind of starting to crumble, you're starting to begin. That's also the really fun thing about the 12-week year and being an accountability group is because everyone has a different experience. And it's not just if you're in round 1, 2, 3, or 4. It is that every set of goals that you set, you'll set differently. They'll take something different out of you. You will be attached to them very differently. Some of you have goals that you've hidden back here for a really long time that actually are attached to emotional garbage. And so that comes up and says, hello, hello, hello. Thanks for calling me to the front of the class. I would like to be worked on. It's a fantastic voyage of being able to love yourself a little differently. So in week 8, for those of you who have done this a few times, the other thing that I'm noticing for many of you is you're really starting to layer in now. We're really starting to see you take a small challenge and just try something, right? A little something. Let me just try a little something. Let me just try a little something, and then I'm going to try a little something. And because you just try a little something, now that you've done it a whole bunch of times, you're like, let me try that. The opt-in becomes this doorway that no longer has a yield sign on it. And you can start opting in much more quickly because you've practiced at it now. You're practicing at it now. This is why, every tennis player practices their serve so many times. They just need to learn how to begin. They just need to learn how to begin. So what is also happening for many of you who have come through this program multiple times, thanks for being better, thanks for picking this as your drug of choice, is paying attention to your own life and keeping promises to yourself and feeling good about that and evolving. But that part about opting in a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more is actually part of a prosperity mindset that's a lot bigger. And that is the I am of self versus the I am of exterior role or nameplate. So a lot of times, and this is a very American phenomena, when you say, oh, I'm a teacher, or I'm a teacher, a preacher, a reacher, whatever it is that you say you are. A lot of times we give ourselves an identity about this thing out here, right? That people often, when I'm introduced, they go, oh, this is my friend Mickey. And then they'll tell me whatever is there. But when I introduce myself, I usually just say, my name is Mickey. And most people know me because of this. not I am this. So one of the things that happens after you do this a couple of times, your I am statement shifts from role or mask or past to this interior look of I am this. And that shift of really going, I am, and whatever your name is, what is that? What am I? If I'm not a teacher or this or that, if I don't take on these exterior pieces. So a lot of people don't actually have to have an existential crisis to have a much better relationship to themselves. And what happens in reaching for goals and consistently getting them and reaching them and getting them consistently is you actually kind of clean out enough clutter out of your mindset for you to go, oh yeah, I don't always need external validation for stuff. I can actually just go interior and get to know myself. And that right there is when convincing and conviction come in. So you no longer have to convince yourself that you're that you actually have a conviction. I am this. I am this. So I'll give you another example of that. Some people, when you have a conviction, we see it a lot in parenting. When mama says no, right? She's saying that with conviction. When your father says no, he's saying it with conviction. He doesn't need to be convinced that is clear, right? It's a clear line. And what ends up happening in that clear line is you go, oh, there is a clear line. Who am I? And what role do I play? Right? So that's this interior piece of who is self and what are the roles that self plays out here in the exterior. And I know that sounds almost like, for some people, this is very elemental. For other people, they don't see it until they kind of recognize it, especially if they didn't have a past that involved a spiritual conversation. That we have that conversation a lot in every religion around the world of conviction and the self and having a higher relationship. But for many people, they're not reading that text. They're not living their life in that way. That they are finding themselves, honestly, for the first time as they're going through their own processes. And that's what's happening. That you're just going through a process and you're going to learn more about yourself and why it's so fantastic. In my opinion, I'm horribly biased on the subject of you. The reason it's fantastic, I believe, is that we get to see that beautiful soul that you are. We get to see the yummy part of you because you'll get to know it more, because you'll get to trust it more, and you'll get to be able to bring more of it out. That I know it just looks like it's meal planning, but it's not. It's self-love. It's saying, look, I'm going to put food on the table that is meaningful to me and that has my best interest in it, and then I'm going to ingest it. And then I'm going to feed it to my family. I'm going to be the hero in my own life. I'm going to be the person that shows up and does hard things. I am that person. I am that person. And that person is always celebrated when we're in accountability group. That's one of the reasons I love accountability group, is because boy, you just feel so much better after hanging out with all of you, right? That because you're part of the magic. That when people ask me about the 12-week year, because they're so tired of hearing about it all the time, but it is my infatuation, because it's amazing how many high-performing, amazing people get a chance to move down a spiritual pathway that allows them to not have to be that role, not have to be this outside thing, not have to be that exterior thing, but they get to really come in and hold and love and acknowledge their own desires, their own misgivings, their own imperfections, and to do it in a loving, thoughtful, caring, gentle way. And that is prosperity mindset. And when you're around other people who have the same drag of getting through all the things that they have to do in a week, and you see them achieving it in one way, or they're giving you a tip, or you're learning this little thing, or they said this book or this app or whatever, oh, it just makes the journey inviting. And that's why it's so important to come, because it's inviting. It's inviting. We want you here, and we want to see you achieve. We want to be there to hold you when you're crying. We want to be there when things are very tough. You know, we've had so many people in those sessions, and yes, sometimes trauma happens, but trauma is actually easier to work through when you know, from the longer you've been in that group, the longer you've been counting on your goals and following through, the longer you do that, the more you come into the I am state, and not I am this exterior place of I am a role, I am a mask, I am this past, right? I am, right? When we hear people say I'm a survivor, I'm this, I'm that, they put themselves on a role and they make that outside thing their identity. That's not your identity. That's a role. That's something that the exterior world has said you are, or you have just said this thing in the exterior world, that's what I am. And what you learn from having to create your own vision. Why do you want that goal? You're the one that has to do the work every day. I am someone that can do hard things. I am someone that keeps promises to myself. I am someone that can make a difference in the world. I am this interior self thing. And what happens in that dance is conviction and convincing. Right? We don't have to convince ourselves that we're something. We can stand in our own achievements, in our own non-achievements, in our own facing the reality of who we are. We can stand there in conviction and go, you know what? I don't actually want that goal. That's not actually what I want. I'm doing that because the rest of the world wants that goal. And that happens every session. At least 3 of you are going to go, wow, I've been planning goals for this magical exterior role person that I don't even identify with, and I'm not that person. Some of you are just like, I outgrew that person. Sure. But a lot of times we made goals for ourselves as teenagers or young people or 20 years ago. My Lord, you're so much smarter now. So these old ideals might not fit because you're way more magical now. So again, when I say thank you, I certainly do mean it. I certainly do. It certainly does make me happy. It's not a game, right? I'm pretty effortless to read. And that is, I'm always glad to see you, because you as you is enough. You as your imperfections, you as someone trying, you as a child of the universe. Because guess what? Me too. I'm in the same boat. I'm writing my same goals too. I have all the things you're doing, I'm doing too. And that part of being able to grow authentically without having to put up with so much self-doubt when you're trying to do it alone, that you can do it in a group and you can watch how everyone else is suffering and succeeding at the same time, right? I call them the cheers and the tears. It makes it go a lot easier. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for not trying to convince yourself to be something, but to really do the I am work and to come into the conviction of, yes, I am someone that can do hard things. Yes, I can get up 15 minutes earlier. Yes, I can just go take 10 minutes and go for a walk around the block. Yes, I can make a fabulous meal plan. Yes, I can go get one recipe off of the internet. I can do this for myself, for my own dreams, for my own wishes. And that's powerful. There's nothing more powerful than you practicing being you. So that's my week 8. Keep going. I'm super glad you showed up, and I'll see you in class. If I can't see you live, I'll see you here. But you should let me know you're here. That's why we have this comments box.